Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Question Time live stream. This is a live stream where we get to answer your questions about Unreal Engine, game dev, or anything you really want to ask at all. It's all fair game. All you got to do is put your question in the chat, and I'll try and grab as many questions as I can within the hour that we're here live. If I do miss a question, don't fret, just put it back into chat, and I'll try and catch it again the next time round. Apologies if I don't get time to answer your question. We do this every week, so try come by each week, and I'll try and get as many as I can. So I'm just waiting for Unreal to load up. It's been very slow. I think my Git is doing some updating and stuff, so let me know if that's an issue. Hopefully it'll be okay, and you can still see me, and lag wise, it's not any problems. Let's turn this a little bit. There we go. So I'm just waiting for Unreal to finish loading up. We've got a few questions coming through already, so I'll answer some of those. But hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? Hello, Mega Lunatic, Red Fog, SX. Hello, Keeves. Hi, Vibe. Hello, Robin. Hello, Lottie. Hello, Jason. Hello, Super J. Hello, Brown Suede. Hi, Julian. Hi. You missed your classes. Oh, thanks, Julian. But you can always come by these ones. That's what's good about this. Hello, Shalon. Hello. So, let's answer a couple of questions I can do. You got a drive behind you. Now, I've got an air conditioning unit behind me. New purchase I got the other week because it's so hot in here with the computer and being in here all day. It's killer. So I've got a little mobile aircon unit. It's just dragged out the window at the moment, but yeah. Yes, it's so much better because Christ, I'll come out just sweating. It's horrible. So first question, Western World Studio, join the live stream Pokemon episode 8. Could the video be uploaded soon? I don't see it on Patreon. Oh, it should be on Patreon. I'll double check that. It should be there. If not, I'll put it up there. Let's have a quick look. Quick look. Maybe I didn't. Okay, so I'll put up there. I'll put that up there after this live stream. Apologies for that. Okay, next question. Oh, hold on. Let me just set up Unreal here. We'll go for the first person, sure. Yep. There we go. Right. Next question while I wait for that. How hot is it? It doesn't get that hot in it at the moment. It's when you're in it all day long with the PC running, Unreal and other things. Oh, yeah, it gets really hot. I hate it. I'd much rather be cold than hot. My wife is the opposite. There's another question I saw. So Weston's World Studio. Hi, could you explain in context the concept of what you refer to as slots as you build them into widgets? I've seen a few tutorials, but would appreciate a higher level verbal description. Thanks. Yeah, so a slot. I mean, it's a generalized term. I use it quite extensively when I'm doing like modular systems. And the key thing is the modular aspect of it, in that a slot is a single element inside of a bigger container. Okay, so for example, in an inventory, it's individual grid squares, they are slots. In equipment, it's the equipment slots, as it sounds like. Spellbook, you have these slots. They are sub widgets or sub elements, like containers inside another container. Okay, and that's what we refer to as slots. And that's basically it. It's just a way of separating it out into separate things, and we do it in a separate thing because then we can build it dynamically. So we don't have to drag one in each time and manually set it up. We can do it dynamically, which is very, very useful and needed for when they do things like inventory, when the content of it changes quite a lot. Next question. How's Unreal doing? Oh, Unreal's ready. Cool. Okay. Ivanomuchi. Hi man, cheers from Brazil. Hello Brazil. I love your tutorials. I am trying Unreal and have some difficulties finding tutorials on monetization. I mean, what's so easy in Unity to use ads and what's not? Yeah, so if you want to, yeah, depends on how you want to monetize your game. But to do ads or anything like that, if you're doing like a mobile game, which you most likely are if you're doing ad-based stuff, that's already set up for you in here. You go to project settings, go down to your platforms. If I go to like Android, for example, and somewhere in here, yeah, in Google Play Services, we've got AdMob, App ID, AdMob, blah, 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 blah. And yes, we set up the ad units here. So you have to use AdMob if you want to use that built into here. There are obviously plugins that do other services too, but AdMob works just fine. Yeah, go in there and that's all you really do is you just put in all your ad units into here and it'd be like a string that you have. And then in the code, when you want to show, yeah. We just type in show ad. Oop. You see show ad banner or show interstitial ad. Yeah, and you just choose which ad index it is in that array that you've made in the project settings. And that's it, really. Simple as that. Same with interstitial ones. It's not as full featured as you may want it to be, like built in, but there are tons of plugins you can get to help you with this. Just type in ad. So you just type in ad, you'll see like is interstitial ad available, requested, load interstitial ad, and you can then show it. So if you don't know what interstitial ads are, they're basically like a full screen thing that you want to load up. And you go, is available. It's requested. And show. Okay. So you have to do this one first. Load it. No, is it that one first? No, this one. Load. So you do that probably at the start of the game. You'll load it up into memory and things like that. And then you can do that to check if it's available. If you've requested it, then you can show that as well. And then you actually show it on the screen by using this show interstitial ad. But yeah, that's basically it, really. But I say there are plugins to help you with that. If you want to do in-app purchases, I don't think they're built in. Let me just double check. I don't think they are. Don't look like it. No. So yeah, in-app purchases, you probably need to get hold of a plugin to set those up and work those in. I'm sure there's loads of cheap ones or free ones on the marketplace. Next question. Hello, on Fortnite Editor, can I make my own games and publish them, or is it only for making mods in Fortnite? It's only for Fortnite, so it's like basically Roblox. It's a game within a game system that you publish within Fortnite. So your players do need to go through Fortnite to access these games. If you want to publish your games, that you can use Unreal Engine 5. That's the beauty of Unreal Editor for Fortnite, is that it has a lot of things in common with Unreal Engine 5, obviously. So once you've learned them in that, you can then probably remake the same thing in Unreal 5. The only thing you can't do is use the Fortnite assets, because the Fortnite assets belong to Fortnite, and you don't own them, so you can't use them. And that's why you can't take them out of that ecosystem. Lightwater. Hi Ryan, I've been researching state trees for AI logic, and I'm wondering what are your thoughts on it? Is it much better for performance? I personally don't think so. It looks like it's just another way of dealing with AI. You got behavior trees or you got state trees. They're the same, it's just laid out differently. There's no, I don't think there's any performance issues or like differences. Yeah. Bartus, what is a good free version of version control system? Git. Git's pretty good for free. You can make it private. Obviously, you can always upgrade it for, I think, $4 a month to get all the pro version stuff. But you can do quite a lot with the free version of that. Lorenzo Lucina. Question: I have to implement a smooth animation system for the locomotion of an NPC. I only have 2 turning L and R, and in turn in place don't work too well. In advice, thank you for your work. Turn in place. Yeah, we can do turn in place. I don't know if we're gonna have time though. That's the thing, because I've got to get the animations. Hang on. I will do a video on it because I need to get hold of the animations and bring them in. But yeah, I've done a good system the other day with someone regarding turn in place, and it used the animations and it dynamically changed based upon like how much of a difference your character was turning. So yeah, I'll do a video on it because it's going to take too long to do. Ben, can you show a good way to stop montage playing if there is already one playing so you can't spam the input? Yeah, super simple. So if you want to manage anything to do with montages are run on the anim instance of any mesh, skeletal mesh. So you drag out your mesh reference and you go get the anim instance. And as I said, you can now manage all your montage stuff in here. So if you type in montage, you'll see all the different montage functions you have. So you get current active montage, is any montage playing? And there's one that's saying is montage is playing, is montage is active, get position, get play rate, is stopped. You get all these things. So for example, if you do montage is playing, like this, and you can choose a particular montage, and you put that into a branch to determine whether or not a montage is playing. If you leave that montage selection blank, it means it'll return true or false if any montage is playing. So quite useful if you want to limit inputs with that. So yeah, just do that. Will this work with combos? Yeah, check out my combo videos. I've done a few on those. Yeah. Jonathan Stevens, I know about replication, but games seem to struggle to get over 50 concurrent players on dedicated servers. What should someone be looking at an open world survival game to hit 100 players? Dedicated, I mean, obviously it depends on the quality of your dedicated server. If it's a slow server and with slow connection, then obviously it's going to be pretty bad for everyone. But the thing to be aware of is your game struggling because of the connection of 50 players, or is it struggling because of the display of 50 players? So like the rendering of them. And it might be that one. So in that case, you may be looking at trying to simplify your skeleton meshes so have less bones. So for example, the Unreal 5 mannequin, as nice as it is, does have more bones than the Unreal 4 one. So you may prefer to go back to the Unreal 4 mannequin instead. Or even simpler. Yeah. So that's one thing to consider. But yeah, it may be a case of just like optimizing character renders and like how well they render textures. There's quite a few things to consider, but you have to first of all determine whether it's a network thing or a rendering thing. Is it struggling to render 50 players, or is it struggling to communicate 50 players? That would be the first question to try and answer to that. Yeah. Keebs, I want to transition from top down to third person at runtime using right mouse button. When I transition the camera isn't behind the player pool, and how do I move the camera to face the direction you're looking? Hang on. I want to transition from top down to third person at runtime using the right mouse button. When I transition, the camera isn't behind the player pool. How do I move the camera to face the direction I'm looking? Okay. Let me just bring in the third person character then. Hold on. Okay. So you're going from a top down to a third person at runtime. Okay, so you've got two ways of doing that. You can either use the same camera and move it, or you can add a second camera and use transition between the two. So I'm going to do a simple thing. I'm just going to have two cameras. You just switch between the two. So you're going to add to the capsule here another spring arm. And attach that spring arm to a camera. Like that. And I'm going to turn this one off. So auto activate, turn off. Spring arm on this one will turn up like this. And I'll just zoom it out a bit. Like that. Okay. So if I want to swap between the cameras, I've got this follow camera and the spring arm camera. The camera boom that's following them, like behind them, you typically want to make sure that pawn control rotation is turned on. So that they will follow the control, the rotation that the player is turning in. The problem you will probably have is that when you're in a top-down game, you're probably fixing the camera boom, so you're not turning the spring arm. So the spring arm that's the top-down spring arm, you don't want use pawn control rotation, and also you don't want inherit yaw. You want to turn that off, so it doesn't like spin around like mad when you're walking around. Let me just turn it on by default actually, because that'd be the more awkward one. Let me turn that on and turn this one off. And let me just change the third person. Okay, so now I've got the top down view like that. So you turn that inherit yaw off, and that you get this effect where the character can turn and it doesn't turn with them, but it still sticks with them. If you want it then to switch down, you want the, let me just do a switch button. We'll just do one key. When we do one, we're going to switch. So I'm going to go from follow camera. We'll do no, activate. And the top down camera, we'll do deactivate. And I'll do two to do it way back. Just take this and swap these around. Okay. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So, yep, moving around, hit one. And I've got the control rotation working, well, with the character. But I know what you mean the problem is going to be. So if you're facing this way, for example, and I hit one again, I'm facing the wrong way. So if you want the camera to go stay behind them like this, you have to turn off pawn control rotation whilst it's in top-down mode. And when you go into this view, you turn it back on. So, or you set the control rotation to follow. We can do the other way, really. Let's do that, actually. So when we push the one to switch to the behind the camera view, we'll just change the control rotation. So we do get player controller, set control rotation, and we're going to start it off by using the actor's rotation, like that. So, and I push the one key, and I'm facing, say, this way, I switch to that view. Yeah, I can still turn it around, go back this way, and just face this way, and go back to that view. Yeah, so when you push the one, just change the control rotation to match which way you want the character to face, and it'll sync up what way we want to go. Yeah, like that. Hope that helps. Next question. question. Thorsten Shell. On unequipped weapon, I'm debugging the object, got deleted, but still visible in the viewport. What could this be? Make sure that the weapon that you're spawning in is first of all spawned in by the server, and then make sure the server is one that's destroying it. It only replicates the destruction of it if it's done by the server. If the client destroys something, it only destroys it for the local client. So make sure you're destroying it from the server's point of view. Atius, I can't understand the AI paradigm. As much as I understand the player control and events paradigm, is there any simple way to learn how to use the behavior tree, Blackboard, and AI control? So first of all, do check out my AI series. Second of all, baby steps. Do little baby things, easy things first, and then you can, as you get more comfortable with it, you can always expand on it later on. There is no one quick solution for every type of game you're making. Every AI system is different. For example, in Mimic, the android I'm making has a very different AI system than anything I've done before. Yeah, because he has to remember who he's seen, he prioritizes who he's attacking, he can be targetable, he'll know what room you've ran into and keep track of that and then look around the room. So there's a bit more advanced stuff going in it. It's still relatively simple, but it's very different from anything else I've done. And that's because the game demanded it. So do be aware that different games will demand different things from your AI systems. It all comes down from understanding those AI systems. So first of all, understand those first by doing like simple things. Understand what all the senses do, how behavior trees work, what blackboards do. And basically you've got a toolbox of things you can use, like decorators, services, tasks, blackboards, controllers, perception system. You've got all these different things you can work with to make something. Once you understand all of that, then you can figure out like different ways of accomplishing your goal. And there may be occasions where you'll do something, you put it all together, then don't like it, and you gut it all and put it back together again with something else. That's quite a common thing to do with AI, is you're trying to figure out a neat way of doing things. But start with the baby steps, start with the tutorial series I've done as it goes through each of the different like systems and tools to learn. And once you've understood those tools, then you can worry about making simpler AI. If you ever watch any of my videos or live streams where I do AI, you'll always see that I do something simple first, which is getting them run around randomly around the level, because that just tests basic things. Like I'm testing that I've got the nav mesh correct, I've got the AI controller correct, I've got the behavior tree correct, I've got the basic things set up in place. They can run around randomly, and then I go on from there and do something a bit more unique. Daniel Vergara. My enemies have a sight sense, but they lost my player when they cross in front of each other enemy. How can I ignore themselves? Thanks for the work. Simple. Yes. So you make your enemy class. Blah blah blah. Enemy. So this only works if you don't want your enemy to ever notice other enemies. If you do want them to notice it, then you have to do a few more tricks to figure that out. But the simplest solution to this is you just add the perception system to your character as a stimuli source. So this is the character of the enemy. You add the stimuli source, and then over here you just make sure auto register source is turned off. By default, characters will auto register to the system, but when you add your own one to it, it overrides it, and therefore now it's not going to be noticed by any AI. So that's the simplest way of doing it. But as I said, if you do need them to eventually take notice of other AI characters, then it's a little bit more involved, and you're looking at making different AI systems. And as I mentioned, there are different ways of doing AI systems. You're not going to be doing like just chase after the last person you saw. You're probably going to do a thing like checking who you saw, if they are relevant to you or not, checking your list of things you've seen or knowing of. It gets quite a lot. But let's say, for example, you got a perception system. Again, this is a tutorial that's in the works, coming out hopefully at some point soon. With the AI perception system, you can get the known actors list. So this will tell you who you've seen. If you change it to sight here, or leave it blank, it will do all senses. It'll get you everyone that they know of currently. So if they've seen 5 people, it'll return 5 things. Even if they're blocked by other people, they still know they're there. You can also use things such as on the perception system, on the sense config for sight. You can also use the auto success range, and by default it's -1, which basically turns it off. But if you put that in as a value, that means they are going to be still seen within 200 yards of the 200 units, or whatever value you put in. Like if I put in 200, obviously, 200 units away from where they last got seen, they'll still treat them as being seen. So if they do run past a pole, for example, or a character, they're still treated as seen if they're still in range of their last known location. So yeah, you can use that too. But it's a few different ways to do it. But the simplest way, if you want it to ignore them completely, just add a perception stimuli source and leave it blank. And that's it. Will this be uploaded as a vid when it's done? Yes. I've decided to make sure that question times are going to be released Wednesdays at the same time as they've been recorded, live stream. So they're not going to be blocked for Patreon members. They're going to be released live for everyone. So you guys can watch it to your liking. Coming from Unity, from Danny, this is, I'm learning Unreal. Are blueprints essentially prefabs? No, not at all. Blueprints is just a quick way of putting code together. It's a visual scripting language. It's not prefabs, not anything like that. You can make a whole game using the code, and essentially that's all it is. They are just visual representations of what you're familiar with when you're doing code. For example, we've got events or functions. You also have got functions themselves. You've got variables. You've got branches, which are just if statements. Yeah, that's just an if. You've got valid checks. You've got for loops. You've got everything that you're familiar with inside of coding languages, but in a visual format. And what's really nice about Blueprints is that it's very quick to compile. C++ is a bit slow to compile, so we don't like it that much when we're jamming things together as quick as possible. So Blueprints are really good for that sort of thing. It's also great for designers because you don't have to worry about scaring people with code. You can just put them in and people will understand a bit more what they're seeing, as they can visually see what's going on. But no, not prefabs. No. Red Fog, how many sockets can be added to a pawn before it's problematic? I don't know. It's it's the classic quote and line from all game dev. It depends. It's not necessarily how many on one character. It depends how many of those characters you've got in your scene as well. A socket is basically another bone. The more bones your character has, the more it has to keep track of it, and therefore can cause problems if you have too many bones in your characters. But that's only a problem if you have lots of characters on your scene. If you have simple skeleton meshes and lots of characters, no problem. If you have lots of characters but small amount of characters but lots of bones, not a problem either. It's when you get a mixture of that. It depends on the situation. So when it comes problematic, it's when you start noticing it being problematic. And that's quite often the case when you're game developing. When you're making games, this is where it comes down. Any professional game developer will tell you that you don't want to be optimized like all the way through your game development cycle. Optimization is going to kill your game project early on if you keep focusing on it. And that's because you'll be obsessed with trying to make things perfect from the get-go and never actually accomplish anything. And often or not, the problem is that later on, things might not be a problem. So if they're not going to cause a problem, not a problem at all. Yeah, don't need to optimize it. So for example, if you're hitting 4K 60 and you're going for consoles or anything like that, done. If it hits that 4K 60 and you're not, oh, I want 100 FPS, Doesn't matter. They're only going to output 60 hertz. So keep it at 60 hertz. There's a lot of things that you don't need as well. It's all about understanding what you need and what you don't need for your game. So when it comes to things like, oh, is it too many right now? If I put in too many here, you don't know that until you actually make the rest of the game. So make the rest of the game, see the problems, and you go, right, now I need to go back, optimize, cut things, break things, and so on. It's like when they shoot film, for example, they'll often shoot a lot more than they actually need, and they'll cut it all out. And yeah, that's because they don't know exactly what take they want, so they're going to get all the takes and then work out what they want to cut and what they want to keep. Same goes for games. We are just working out what we want to cut and what we want to keep, what we want to trim down for optimization sakes, and what we want to keep for our game design sakes. So don't worry about optimization, don't worry about performance until you get to a point where the game is getting close to being done. Because chances are you're not going to notice any performance issues until it gets all come together. Like when you're running around as a mannequin, it's unlikely you're going to come across performance issues. If you do, then you're seriously doing something wrong. But don't worry about anything like that. Worry about it later on. Yeah, and you will learn a lot about that stage when you get round to it. And you'll start, once you've learned about optimization things in the first round, you can go back through in the second round. Speaking of optimization, I'm going to show you all one little tip to help you with this. I will be doing a video on it, a how-to video of optimizing, and this is how I went through an optimized Mimic to run a 4K 60 when it was running like at 15 FPS before. So this is obviously a bad example because we've got a very simple texture base, but essentially if I were to, actually I'll tell you what, I will bring in a level, hang on, I've already got downloaded. I'll show you how you can optimize, or one of the ways you can optimize anyway, because there's loads. Let's find one I've already got downloaded so I don't have to wait. Sure, we'll do this one. Add to project. Hopefully that comes in quite quick. And I'll show you how I can optimize a level. And also talk a lot about streaming, texture streaming, because I often see people getting that wrong too. And lots of YouTube tutorials out there will say like, how to fix your streaming pool, and they'll basically say like, just increase streaming pool size. Yeah, that's a solution to it, but it's not the solution to it. And you know what I'm talking about. It's the little error you get in the top left. I mean, it says texture streaming pool size over budget, blah blah blah, however much. We may sit in this. We'll have a look. But I'm going to show you how to actually fix it and actually understand what it means, and how you can optimize it. Okay, shaders compiling for this level. Wait for it to kick in. Yale forever. Hello, I'm starting to learn Unreal Engine. What is the best way to learn Blueprints/C++? First of all, subscribe to the channel. Great place to learn stuff. If it's your completely new time to Unreal, I do recommend going through making your first game on my channel. That's good. It goes through a lot of the basic concepts and fundamentals, and also sets up some challenges at the end to help test yourself. But yeah, and I've got some C++ primer stuff to get you started. I need to go back to it and add more to it, but time and other things are kicked in. But yeah, check out those. Beyond that, it's just using it every damn day. Right, so, okay, this one doesn't have a texture streaming problem, but I want to show you how to fix it. So, texture streaming is the concept of your game is loading up textures in memory, and it's running it in memory, streaming it in from memory, sorry. So, if I was to go into my stat here, go stat, streaming, I'm going to get this, okay? And if you see here, it says streaming pool, says 1,000 megabytes, so 1 gig. That's the default that Unreal set to, 1 gig of memory. Just so you understand what that means the amount of VRAM that your GPU has to have. So this is using 1 GB of the GPU VRAM. Now, if you're making a game for PC, that is obviously very, very low because your VRAM is usually like 32 or 16 gigabytes. But one thing to note with PC development, you tend to want to err on the side of caution and make sure there's a very large boundary of error. Because everyone's PC is very different and GPUs are very different, it's hard to guarantee how it's going to work on different PCs. This is why PC is a nightmare to develop for. But consoles, you obviously know exactly what's inside of it, so you can really push this to the limit. But that's what that means. So stream pool is 1000 megabytes, and it says here I've got on required pool, I've got 228.85 megabytes. So therefore, I'm only using 23% of my streaming allowance. Okay, so I'm good. And as I run around here, you'll see the textures go in and out, and so therefore the required pool is going to go up and down. Okay, it's a bit hard to see probably, but it says required pool there. Okay, so a little thing to help you with this, and if that is, you'll see that going above. So when we type in things like r.streaming.pool size to increase the pool size to say 2000. So you see here, stream pool size now to 2000, so 2 gigabytes. That means obviously I've got loads more space, but usually it doesn't. That's not the cause. You're not really solving the problem. You're just adding more space. Yeah, it's like if you're hoarding load of shite in your room, you don't just make a bigger room. You really want to clear out the shite. So that's what you're going to do. So I'm going to show you how you do that. So a good thing to do is go to your tools menu up here, go down to the audit section, and go to statistics. Ooh. And it brings up this window. And in this window, you've got a few options. This is a very cool window to use, by the way. So if I go down here, up top left, I've got, this basically tells you the stats of all the things in your level. So by default, it's a primitive. So you can see all the different assets we're using, how many times it's using it. So SM Tunnel has been used 26 times. It's taken 11,000 tries, isn't it? The total sum of tries is 304 tries. Total size in kilobytes is 1,376, you know. So you've got lots of information about these things. But let's talk about textures, because that's an easy one to fix. So texture stats, go there. And these are all your texture stats. And you can see here we've got staff RO. We've got 406 actors are using this T staff RO, whatever it is. And it's a 4K texture. So someone's already gone through this. So well done the person who made this map. They've already gone through and changed the dimensions. So see, it's a 4K texture. They brought it down to a 2K texture. So let me have a look at that one. So this is a roughness. RO typically means roughness and opacity, like this. And typically with roughness and opacity, if you don't want it working at 4K, you can bring it down. So on the textures, you can, if you want to make it more performant, just change its max texture size and type in whatever you want. So I'm going to do 2048. Oh, hello. Or do 1024. Because roughness on opacity maps, you can generally get away with a lot lower res texture, especially normal maps as well. Save the higher texture ones for the actual detailed stuff. But you bring the texture size down by 1024, hit save. Like that. And now and you can see here now it's not even at top now because it is all sorted out by how much memory it takes. So if I go to current memory, this one, it's not even there now, it's down here. No, it's down somewhere else now. But here's all the max texture size. So this one here is up top, door N is a 4K texture. If I click on this, 32 actors are using it. I click on that. And as I said, normal maps, typically, you want to bring them right down because there's no point in having these really high. You're not going to notice the individual details. You're never going to notice it. So bring it down. And this one I'll bring down to 1024. And that'll clear it up. There you go. Save, done. And now shaved it by by 3/4. Yeah, I brought it all the way down. So this is a really neat way of going through and checking all these actors. So typically, what you want to do, because normal maps you can just get away with really easily, just cutting them down in size, is let me just remove the stat. So you can see my stat streaming now is gone down to No, where has it gone up to there? Was it still compiling shaders? Maybe it was still compiling shaders. Didn't notice, but it's gone up to 65. I don't know. But let's go to stat streaming. Turn it off. Right. Yep. If I go into my content drawer, another little thing that people don't know about is if I'm going to go to filters, click on this, and you've got all your normal filters that you may be familiar with. But if you go down to other filters, and inside you've got used by level. So in used by level, click on that. This will now show all the assets that are being used by this level. So I'm going to go in here, click on texture, and there's all my textures. And if I want to single out the normal ones, I just do, and hopefully they've been labeled correctly, _n. Hey, my normal maps. I can select all of these at once. Asset actions. And do bulk edit. Have they... Oh, edit selection in property matrix. They've changed the wording of it. This is 5.3, by the way. It's usually in 5.2 and else it's bulk edit. So in here, I can type in max texture size. And I can now knock all these down to 1024 all at once. But yeah, as Robin Dow says, always design and make your assets with the highest quality because you can always go down, can't go up. So this is why we typically will make things with 4K textures or 8K textures even in some places and then bring them way down when we bring them into the game. Which makes it really easy if you want to upgrade it to 4K textures. You just wrap that way up. Now, what to use as a 4K texture and what not to use. I know we've gone on a slight tangent here, but it's useful stuff. So be aware, not everything needs to be a 4K texture. There's a common misconception that people say, oh, I want my game to run at 4K 60, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean 4K textures for every damn thing. If an object on your screen is only going to take up like 10% of that screen, if your TV screen is only rendering at 4K, there's no point in having 4K texture on something that's only 10% of your screen. If it's taking up only 10%, then make it 1024 or less. You can bring it right down. So do be aware and knowledgeable about where things are shown and how they're being shown. So the small objects you can get right down and take out a lot of the detail if you don't need it, because otherwise you're wasting. If you've got a 4K texture only taking 10% of that screen up, that's wasted pixels. You've got 4K you can't display more than 4,000. You can't display more than the allotted amount of pixels in that space. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah, as Robin, yeah, exactly that. Import at full, you can always reduce down. Yeah, so reduce it down as I've just shown you by doing max texture size. Yeah. But anyway, that was a slight tangent. We'll go through something else. But that's how you start optimizing textures. And textures are going to be your biggest, or one of the biggest optimization elements. But that statistics thing is useful to look at for all sorts of things. It's not just textures on there. As I said, you've got primitives. So these are your meshes. So you can see if you've got some that are seeming a bit too low, you can force them to go down to lower LODs. Also, make sure your textures are all power of 2, by the way, so you can do mip maps. Mip maps are basically the LOD system for textures, so use that. But SM Tunnel here, we've got, say, if I just go to size. Yeah, so yeah, SM Tunnel is the biggest mesh. It is the most heavy in kilobytes. But as you see, these are kilobytes these are measured in, whereas textures are a lot more. So that's like this one texture is 21,000 kilobytes, whereas the whole mesh of the tunnel is only like 1,300 kilobytes. So textures are definitely far more expensive than meshes are. So do be aware of that. Question: How do you approach making a kill cam? What kind of kill cam? What you've seen from their point of view and how it works? Honestly, not too sure. How would that work? That would, I mean, it would be looking at server replication, wouldn't it? And be able to rewind back from that point of view. There's got to be a replay system and how you do the replay system. Looking at using that. You just be playing it from a different point of view, aren't you? So I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Can you make an online game using IPs, not LAN, or using subsystems is better? Subsystems are going to save you a lot of work, but you can connect directly to IP addresses. I mean, that's what we're doing with dedicated servers, essentially. So, yeah, you can. It's just, yeah, you're going to lose a lot. You have to do a lot of the legwork, that's all. Yeah, that's right. Robin is backing up everything I'm saying. Exactly that. Preach to the choir, boy. So because Robin, yeah, as you're saying, if you change it all the way down to 512, I've seen textures in like AAA PS5 titles go down to like 32 by 32 even. You can go really, really small and you won't ever notice it. If it's something that's insignificant, you're never going to notice it. Yeah. You'd be very surprised what you can get away with. I'm a beginner, so when it comes to creating environments, where to start? Any advices or sources? I use Blender. Okay, so it depends what you're talking about. Are you talking about level design or environment design? If you're talking about environment design, that's like doing things like this, and building environments that look pretty. Level design, you're more about the layout and building gameplay into it. I'm assuming you're talking about environment design from an art point of view. Key thing is modularity. Make everything in tiny pieces. Like that. So as you see, it's one little piece. That's another little piece. This another little piece. Make it out of pieces. Better for performance. Because if you're not using Nanite, they use occlusion. Nanite uses vertex. Essentially, it's vertex occlusion, essentially. Which is obviously really powerful if you've got lots of vertices. But if you've got a simple mesh, it's not that different. But modularity works really well for performance. Makes things run a lot better. And also makes things easy to adjust and maneuver things about. And also think about how you can make life a lot easier for yourself by messing about with the snaps. And also making like little blueprints to help you do this. I don't know if this level has any. I don't see any. But like, for example, like this whole thing being along here, this was placed manually by the looks of it, but this could have easily been a blueprint that we could have just like clicked and dragged out and it would have duplicated it across. So it's useful even as an environment designer to learn blueprints for that very notion. Like for example, I once had to do a environment of a cinema, like a theatre. And rather than placing each chair individually, which would take ages and bore me to death, I made a quick blueprint which generated chairs based upon how many I told it to in the slider. So I went 10 chairs, it goes and generate 10 chairs and just space them all out evenly for me. So learn blueprints because of environment design. It's going to save you a lot of work and it makes your environments so much more adaptable and flexible. Just today, actually, I recorded a video for this month's Patreon vote, which was making a rope bridge. So I made it and I can load it up. It works really nicely. I'm gonna load it up because I'm quite happy with it. But the video will be being edited now for Patreon members, and the project files will be available to Patreon members soon too. Where is it? Too many projects on here. Rope bridge. There you go. And so, yeah, I've done a quick video today showing how to do a rope bridge. dynamically, so you can just choose how long you want it to be, and it'll just do all the work for you. And it's just by learning little things like that will help you make a project better for everyone involved in the project. Yeah, so here's the rope bridge. So there you go, there's a long one. I can rotate it around like that, and I can change how long I want it to be. Oh, hang on, just thinking about it. I've got too much going on at once. Yeah, so there you go. I've got 37 pieces there, and oh god, I'm thinking about everything. Hit play, and then the physics will take over, and we've got a simple rope bridge. I can run along. So this video will be coming out soon for Patreon members of how to do this. So it's pretty neat. And it could be long or short. So I'll change that to like 6, for example. Well, no, do 10. So yeah, this will be coming out soon for Patreon members, as well as the project files for it. Yeah. So super, it don't take long to do either. But it's stuff like this that if you know how to do Blueprint, you could do this. So environment designers still learn Blueprint. That's the power of it, is you can do crap like this really simply. Like I walk underneath it, look. So yeah, we can do stuff like that. So yeah, Patreon members, look out for that. It's coming out very soon. It's good fun. I can close that now. Next question. Greeny Yumsy, are pack level actives a good way to go ahead instead of placing everything separately every time? Basically, do they use more or less than just placing them individually? They don't use any more resources. Pack level actives are mostly useful if you are working in a team and you want to work on a level together. That's where they're mostly useful. There's no performance gain at all, really, or loss. It's the same. It's better for team-based work. Red Fog, about the sockets. It better not use the sockets for camera positions then, correct? Again, it depends on what you want to do with those sockets. How many of them you're expecting. No. I mean, try it. Experiment. Test it. It comes all the way down to what else is going on in your scene, what else is going on in your level. If it works, test it out. If it works with all the sockets, great, leave it at sockets. If it doesn't work, then there's loads of other things you can try out too instead of doing that. Rather than using sockets, you can have one camera and you're applying different modifiers to the camera, for example. There's different ways of doing it, but test it out first with the way you've got in mind, and if it works, great, keep it. Don't worry about it. If it does cause issues, it doesn't work as intended, then you can move on to the next idea and try the next solution. Robin, could you give an example of how game state works with regards to running a function to all players? Say, like updating all connected players' HUD screen widget with some info. Yeah, sure. So, we've still got this going on. Let me go back to my level. So the game state, everyone has access to the game state. The server has control of it. If you want to update things like the HUD screen widget, it's the same replication process as anything else, where you want the server owns it, so therefore they can cast a multicast on it. But you can also the server can also get access to all the player controllers in that instance, and therefore access all their HUDs from there as well, and give them instructions to it. And you're using multicast so they all get told to do their things locally. The reason why they have to do it locally is because widgets on your viewport belong to you only. No one else owns them. No one else can see them. So if you want to update something on someone else's screen, you have to tell them to update it, and then they go through the actual process of updating it. They can't. You can't have the server update it on their behalf. Yeah. Zane Gill, what are the benefits of building from source? What are the real difference between using an engine download from Epic and building from source? So, if you build from source, you have access to everything in the engine. Okay, so you can have access to absolutely everything. That includes all actors, all classes, everything in the UI that you see here. You can change absolutely everything you want. So, for example, there may be something you don't like about the default controls that Tab is used to navigate through a UI. You can go in there and just change it. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. If you don't build from source, you can only add classes to your game. You can't edit them. So if you can't edit existing classes. So let's say I want to improve the character movement class. I can't edit the character movement class if I don't build from source. I can make my own one and maybe extend from it, but by and large, no, I can't. But if I do want to edit it, I can just go straight into the source and just edit and make a quick change in the source. This is why, like, game devs that are building a full game may prefer to use Source Engine, because it means they can just go in and just take out bits they don't need or don't want. They can also customize things like the rendering pipelines and things like that to really take advantage of the whole entire engine. But yeah, it just gives you access to absolutely everything. Yeah, for dedicated servers, you need a source build, yeah. Because that's where you set up the connection stuff. Can I answer one or two more? Western Worlds, I intend to expand on Pokemon series battle system to have multiple enemies in the party, which is just migrating JRPG series content from turn-based battle or other updated approach. My suggestion for you would be do both separately, learn from both of them, learn what each one's trying to teach you, and then come up with your own solution. And that's what I always try and do with all my tutorial series, is I want you to learn from them, not necessarily go, right, I want an inventory system, I'm going to copy this, put it in my game, boom, done. That's the wrong way to think about it. The right way to think about it is like, here's how inventory systems typically work. Here's some solutions to for common case stuff, and now you know a bit more about how they work. You can make it more adaptable for what you want to do. Try as you get more experience as a designer and programmer, you'll be more in position to design, program, and create work that is based upon your design, rather than changing your design based upon the code that you're getting. So don't try and base a game about what I'm showing you. Try and learn from it, and then use it to adapt and work on it, trying to figure it out and solve it for yourself. And this is why I've created on Patreon the Creators Challenge. So every month I'm giving all my patrons a challenge to think about something independently. So try and make something independently without me telling what to do. And I'm going to go through and give them all feedback based upon what they submit. I'm talking about like how useful it is for designers, how expandable it is, performance, you know, all these various things. So each month you get a tiny little game jam type thing to work on to test your skills. So if you want to do that, you can sign up to be a patron and get access to it, and you can submit the project files and I can review them. They've done 1 month already. They're just doing the second month now. A new one starts every single month, but you can sign up whenever you want. But do check it out. That's right, Sheldon. Learn how to think, not what to think. That's exactly it. It's all about learning how to teach yourself and learning how the concepts work. Yeah, it's learning how to use the tools, how to understand the tools, rather than what to do exactly like for like. I get a lot of people asking me, like, with various series, going, what my game has exactly what you're doing in your series, but I want to do the XYZ extra things, or this slightly differently. I can't design a series for every type of game possible. That's impossible. But I do my best, but you can definitely try and take away from it and learn from it. Like, the biggest thing, the first lesson you always want to go for with, like, say, inventory system, is you want to be an unorganized and an organized list. And if it's going to be unorganized, you can use a map. If you're using an organized list, you have to use an array because you need to have control about which index they're in. Maps, you can't do that. You can't swap them around. They're not stored like that. Arrays are. And that's the first main thing. Like, do you want the player to have choice about where things go in their inventory, or is it just going to be a list of stuff? If it's just a list of stuff, just use a map. If it's be controlled what slot they're in, you have to use an array. That's the very first thing that you've got to think about when you're doing inventories. And that's what I'll talk about in my inventory series, is that concept. After that, it all just snowballs from there. And you just all about managing that those data. Any real easy performance wins in terms of FPS that you can turn off or turn down to get better frames, whether it be in editor or builds as well. Don't always feel the need to use Nanite or Lumen. That's key. Nanite and Lumen are designed to be used for the top-end next-generation consoles and PC graphics cards. If you're aiming for more people to use it, play the game, don't need it. Yeah, you'd be surprised how often you don't actually need Nanite or Lumen. You can get by without it. And there's loads of little things you can do elsewhere that you can get by with those things off as well. Like, you can change how the reflections work. So, for example, if I go to project settings, search for reflections, you can see reflection method is set to Lumen currently. Yeah, that's expensive. Yeah, Lumen, especially in 5.3, Lumen can do like multiple bounces now. But I can turn it down to screen space and save myself a lot of hassle. Yeah. As I say, it's low cost, it says, but you can see there, but limited by screen space information. But most of the time, screen space will work just fine. And then you got standard, and then you got none if you want to do reflection captures instead. So if you choose none, then you have to use reflection captures, which are somewhere in here. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Sphere reflection captures. You use these things. Yeah. But you don't need those. If you want, you can use screen space and you get middle of the ground sort of performance and yeah, you're not using Lumen. But you can use Lumen if you want, but you don't need to. Mimic, for example, is not using Lumen or Nanite. It doesn't need it. And it doesn't need it because we don't have that many dynamic lights. We've got lots of lights, static lights, and Lumen doesn't really work that nice with loads of static lights. It works really good for like big singular lights. And Nanite only works really well if you're using very large pieces that can't be occluded very easily. So this is why it works well for landscapes and big things like that. Not necessarily for small objects. You're not going to get much benefit out of Nanite. The reason why is because Nanite is vertex occlusion. So, like most of the time, models like these, which are not using Nanite, even if you can see just like this section of this model, it will still render the whole entire thing. Nanite, it doesn't do that. It only renders what it can actually see, which is really useful if you're doing very large open spaces, which have got lots of landscape, because that means then it'll only render what it can see of those landscapes. They could be big pieces, and it only renders what it sees, rather than rendering whole entire pieces if they are in bounds even just a little bit. So it works really well for that sort of thing. But little objects, you don't need it. Nanite just increases the disk space and disk size of your game for no real gain. So feel free to do that. Just wondering when you're uploading the first creator challenge feedback video. Very soon. I've only got to really edit it really. So I was going to do it today, but I've got sidetracked recording videos. So probably editing tomorrow. But it'll be up before the end of the month. So the idea is like it's like always a month after, like within the month after. But yes, it'll be coming. But that will have to do, unfortunately, today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for Question Time. And if you're new to the channel because you've come away from Unity because of all those issues, hello and welcome. Hopefully you are enjoying Unreal as much as I am. And hopefully you're enjoying the channel and seeing all the content we have. We're back again live on Saturday, where we're doing a level design live stream. This time we're looking at open world level design. So I've seen a lot of bad open world level designs from new game designers and experienced game designers. we're going to talk about what makes a good open world level design and how you can actually design and apply level design concepts to an open world's layout. So if you want to check out the live stream, come by on Saturday from 8 PM UTC. More videos coming out. I've just recorded some more today. As I said, rope bridge stuff. We've got action RPG stuff coming out. We've got new animation stuff from Luke coming out. I just need to make the thumbnails for it. I've just been lazy on that. I need to make the thumbnails. There's more animation blueprint stuff. Christ, what else is there? Survival, inventory stuff. There's all sorts. But anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Come on, we're back again next Wednesday for question time as well. So I'll see you all then. If not, take care. And if you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where donation just $1 gets you access to all my content early for everyone else, as well as other benefits like Discord access and create a challenge and all whatever else we have. So thank you so much, everyone. Take care, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye.